Hello everyone, a very good morning to all. So this is the third video for the chemistry of actinide elements. In this video, this is the third one and the last one. So in this video, we'll be discussing about the similarities between the later. Firstly, we'll be discussing about the chemistry of separation of neptunium, plutonium and americium from uranium. And then we'll be discussing about similarities between the later actinides and the later lanthanides. So let's get started. So firstly, we're discussing about the chemistry of separation of neptunium, plutonium, americium, and americium from uranium. So natural uranium majorly exists as uranium-238. This is atomic weight, as these are the uranium is having different isotopes. So this is one of the isotope which is majorly present in natural uranium, and along with this 0.7% of uranium-235 is also found. So mainly uranium is produced from nuclear reactors. In nuclear reactors, what happens is interaction of slow neutrons with uranium generates these elements. So these elements, say neptunium, plutonium, and americium, are obtained from uranium in nuclear reactor. So here are these some of the reactions which are predicted, which predict the formation of these elements, that is neptunium, plutonium and americium from uranium in the nuclear reactor itself. So firstly, what happens is uranium-235, it reacts with this fast moving high energy neutron and get converted to uranium-236. Further reaction with neutron converts it to uranium-237, then beta minus decay takes place and it gets converted to neptunium-237. So for similar reaction is there for uranium neptunium 239, that firstly it uranium 238 reacts with neutron and then beta minus decay takes place. Then further from this neptunium 239 beta minus decay takes place and we get plutonium. This further react to give plutonium 240, which further at the end get converted to americium. This is not the this is not the sequence that we always get finally this compound and this element, that is americium, and we are not getting neptunium. There is always some at this step some of uh, the neptunium 239 is getting reacted further, and some of traces of this element will also be finding in the reactor. So this is why all these elements, that is neptunium, plutonium and americium, are found in the nuclear reactors, because in the nuclear reactor uranium is present, different isotopes of uranium are present, and fast moving neutrons are there, and they undergo these nuclear reactions and we get a mixture of these compounds from the nuclear reactor. Now the yields of heavier elements out of the nuclear reactor is dependent upon 2 points. What are those 2 points? So the yields depend upon, let me take a pen. So it'll depend upon the half-life of various isotopes. If what happens is, if half-life is very short, then we won't find those isotopes, because they'll get they'll get vanished away after the when we'll be finding these. So if half-life plays a very important role, half-life should be high enough that we are able to separate these elements, what separate the desired elements, what we desire. So also the next is ability of those isotopes to absorb neutrons. Now if the element which is desired by us further has higher ability to absorb neutrons, and it will get converted to some other element. So the desired element should have lower ability to absorb neutrons, and also some other element which are reactant to our desired product should have high probability for our desired element to be formed in the nuclear reactor. So these are the two conditions, that half-life of various isotopes, half-life is also the major, is having the major role play, and also the neutron absorption tendency of the isotopes. So these heavier elements are actually extracted from spent nuclear fuel. This we have already discussed here, that we use spent nuclear fuel and it is very difficult procedure to extract these elements from the nuclear fuel, as it is hazardous, as the materials are fissile in nature, these are toxic, these are carcinogenic, and there are mixture of over 30 fission products is there, and out of these 30 fission products we have to separate our desired elements. So let's discuss the flow chart, how these elements are separated. So firstly, what is done is fuel rods, spent fuel rods are taken, and these are removed from the reactor and are kept in cooling ponds full of water for about 100 days. This procedure is done to remove highly radioactive isotopes which are having short half-life. So the isotopes which are having very short half-life will be removed in 100 days, and the hazardous nature will get reduced, which is due to these isotopes. So we are making the reaction safe, but still some of the isotopes are present which are hazardous and which are radioactive, but some extra isotopes, extra elements which are exceptionally radioactive and which are having short half-life can be removed via this procedure. So after 100 days, Purex method is followed for the extraction, for the separation of these elements from the spent fuel. So firstly, the reactor rods are treated with 7 molar HNO3, then which leads to the formation of solution of UO2 2 positive. Here uranium is in +6 oxidation state, as this has already been discussed that uranium or these actinides in +6 oxidation state exist as dioxocations, and also there is plutonium in +4 oxidation state. These are further extracted with 20% tributyl phosphate in kerosene. Then from there, what will have, one is going to be this and other is going to be the aqueous phase. So in the kerosene phase, in the oil phase, or in the organic phase, we are going to get UO2 2 positive and Pu in +4 oxidation state, and the aqueous phase is going to be the other fission products and neptunium, which will be containing neptunium and americium. So from here, workup for neptunium and americium will be done. The further workup of neptunium and americium is not mentioned in your syllabus, so we'll be proceeding from this step. Further, what is done is reduction is going to take place. Here we have done the separation using the phase separation using the separatory thing, that oil phase is separated out of the aqueous phase, and some components are getting to the oil phase, some components are getting to the aqueous phase. That is the organic phase here. So further reduction with a reducing agent, that is iron sulfamate, is used to reduce these two. Here this will get reduced, will get this UO2 2 positive in tributyl phosphate, that is TBP, and here Pu4, which was in 4 oxidations, which was having +4 oxidation states, getting reduced to +3 oxidation state, and that will remain in aqueous phase, and in the organic phase is going to be this. Here also again we are doing the separation using the aqueous phase and organic phase separation. So here aqueous phase will Pu +3, which is soluble in aqueous phase, will go to the aqueous phase, as we have reduced here Pu4 to Pu3. So here what will be left with? We'll left with UO2 2 positive, and further it will be extracted with 0.2 molar HNO3, and here 0.2 molar HNO3 means it is dilute HNO3, and this we have already discussed. And when UO2 2 positive, that is uranyl ions, are treated with dilute acid, then what we are going to get? We will get this thing, that is UO2 nitrate, uranyl nitrate, and evaporation will give us this hexa, that is 6 molecules of water will get when the dilute HNO3 is used, and which is further heated. This step we have already discussed, that for obtaining UO3, will heat just uranyl nitrate and will get UO3, which is further reduced with hydrogen at high temperature, and will get UO2, that is uranium dioxide, and here it is uranium trioxide. So these are these steps which we have already discussed in the reactions of actinides, in the reactivity of actinides. So those steps are being used here. And for plutonium, what is being done here, it is in +3 oxidation state. So further we'll be using an oxidizing agent, that is HNO2, that is nitrous acid. We'll again oxidize it to Pu4 positive, that is we'll oxidize it to +4 oxidation state. Here we have reduced it to +3 oxidation state just to get it into the aqueous phase. Then here further we are again converting it into the +4 oxidation state, and we'll treat it with oxalic acid to get the formation of this complex, which for which we'll get the precipitates. And when this complex is heated, we'll get dioxide for plutonium also. And this is how further we have got oxides of both uranium and plutonium here. So this is how we separate these elements from the mixture. Further, we have to discuss the similarities, and further we have to discuss the transuranic elements. That what are transuranic elements? From here, now it must be clear to you. We can quote 3 similarities and 3 differences in between the lanthanides and actinides. This is a very easy question. So you may be asked in exams that what are the similarities between lanthanides and what are the differences between lanthanides. I think so far what we have discussed, out of that you will be able to attempt the question for the similarities and differences between the lanthanides and actinides. One can be based upon the ionic and atomic radii, can be based upon the oxidation state, can be based upon the complex formation tendency, that lanthanides are having less tendency and actinides are having higher tendency to form complexes. The oxidation states here are +3, +2, and +4, and here higher oxidation states are also there. And only these are mostly naturally occurring, and these are mostly synthetic in nature. So in this way you can quote the similarities and differences. Further are the transuranic elements. In actinide series, all elements after uranium are synthetic and are prepared through nuclear reactions. So these are all the elements after uranium in the series are synthetic in nature. So all these synthetic elements are called as transuranic elements because they are coming after uranium. So they are called as transuranic elements and they are prepared from uranium. So for the preparation, nuclear reactions are being used. So here I have shown the synthesis of through nuclear reaction of neptunium and plutonium. The preparation of different transuranic elements can be, you may be asked in exams for the, in the 1 mark, this type of question is generally asked in the 1 mark category, that write the preparation or complete the following reaction. So in your book, the preparation of all the transuranic elements has been mentioned. So you have to refer your books for this thing. Here I have mentioned the preparation of just neptunium and plutonium using uranium-238, and here we are using neptunium-239, and we are reacting here it with neutron and we'll get uranium-239. Here it should be NP. I think something is wrong here. So this will refer, for this also you can refer the books. It is clearly mentioned. I think I have done something, this is wrong. This reaction is not correct. This whole reaction is not for the preparation of neptunium, actually. It is for the preparation of uranium-239 from uranium-238. So this may be the first step in the preparation of neptunium. So you can use this reaction which we discussed earlier for the preparation of neptunium, that how we are getting it from uranium-238. Actually, it was the first step, then beta minus decay was to follow. So here this reaction is incomplete actually. So for plutonium, we get it from neptunium. This also we have already discussed. So in this way, following the nuclear reactions, you can get the different elements, and the different isotopes of these elements can be synthesized using these nuclear reactions. So this is the way how transuranic elements are synthesized. Now we come to the similarities of later lanthanides and later actinides. Later actinides are curium onwards, or all the elements coming after curium. Curium is with atomic number 96. So all the elements coming after curium 2103 are called as later actinides, come under the category of later actinides. So there are many similarities are there in later actinides and lanthanides. So let us discuss. +3 oxidation state is most common in addition to +2 and +4. Like for lanthanides, +3, +2 and +4 oxidation states are there. Similarly for later actinides also, +3 is most common, that is most stable. This we have already discussed while discussing the oxidation states. And in addition to +3, there exists +2 and +4 like lanthanides. Also, the spectral and magnetic properties of some compounds of isoelectronic pairs. These are the isoelectronic pairs. This is the compound that is from the actinide. This is from the lanthanide series. They are also similar. Spectral and magnetic properties are also similar. Next similarity is that this is due to similar amount of energy required. Okay, the reason for this is that the similar amount of energy is required for the promotion of electrons from 5f to 60 and from 4f to 5d for the later actinides. Not for all the actinides, but for the later actinides, this energy gap is very much similar to that of the lanthanides. So, and however, here it is written, I have mentioned that however, for earlier actinides, lesser energy is required. This we have already discussed, that energy gap between 5f and 60 is very less in comparison to that of 4f and 5d, but this energy gap is almost similar to that of 4f and 5d in case of later actinides. So this is the reason that there are these similarities. Also, there is one more similarity, that when we follow the ion exchange column method for the separation of actinides, later actinides also behave just like lanthanides in their elution pattern. Elution pattern means the pattern in which the sequence in which they are coming out of the column, what properties, what are their retention times while we're doing the ion exchange, while we are passing the mixture of actinides from the ion exchange column. So their elution pattern is very much similar to that of lanthanide. So this was all about the actinide series, and now we are done with our first unit, that is chemistry of lanthanides and the chemistry of actinides. So and we have discussed all the things which have been covered in your syllabus. So that is it for this video. I should stop here. So thank you so much.